Have you ever noticed how a humongous mess in your house and a humongous mess in your schedule and your calendar often leads to a humongous mess in your brain? Turns out it's not a coincidence. Let's take a look at how you can gain clarity and direction by decluttering your home, your life, and your calendar. I'm going to make a confession here. There have been times in my life when I have looked around at the state of my house and wondered whether it had been hit by a tornado or a bomb. Through the years and conversations with lots of other women, they've admitted the same thing, that they had noticed that when their home was a mess or their life was a mess, they felt like internally they were a bit of a mess as well. It's interesting how the state of our home and our calendar often mirrors what's going on the inside. There is a definite correlation between clutter and confusion, but there are actually several kinds of clutter: physical clutter, mental clutter, and emotional clutter. And the more that you are hanging on to all of that clutter in your life, the more confused you're going to be about your vision and about the direction that you want your life to take. So let's start with the first kind of clutter that we all think about, the physical clutter. This one's easy because the word itself just automatically leads us to visions of messy homes and cluttered desktop and cluttered kitchen cabinets. The physical clutter in our homes is easy to see. We can see it there on the table. We might be tripping over it in the floor. But physical clutter is all of that extra accumulated stuff. It's the stuff that you no longer need. It's the stuff you no longer use. It's the stuff you no longer love or find to be valuable. And it just kind of sneaks in to our homes, often without us even really realizing it's there. Clutter can be anything from those extra little cheese packets that came with the pizza that was delivered to your door last week, to the shoes in your closet that no longer look good or feel good. Clutter can be silly things, little things. It can be the pen that no matter how much you work with it and scribble and try to get it to write, it just doesn't have enough ink or it just doesn't write smoothly, and it frustrates you every time you use it. It's time to get rid of that. To get rid of the physical clutter in our house it's pretty simple in theory, but sometimes it's a lot more difficult in practice. To get rid of that physical clutter, we need to actually just get a trash sack or a box. We need to go through the rooms in our house, open the drawers, empty the junk, empty the trash, open the kitchen cabinets, open the drawers, go through your closet, look at all those horizontal surfaces, the end table by your bed or by your favorite chair. Any place where things can accumulate. One of our places that tends to accumulate clutter is the den table. It's where everybody wants to plop down the mail and any packages that come in, and it's where I tend to plop my purse. It's a constant battle to make sure that that particular surface stays clean and clear. We also have to deal with the sentimental items in our home. These are really tricky because a lot of emotions and memories come up when we try to deal with those. But we can't keep all of them, so we've got to go through and deal with the ones and make the decisions about which ones are the most important. We can also deal with some of that physical clutter by literally donating it. We probably have things in our homes that are no longer useful to us or wanted by us, but that still have value and utility left that could really be used by someone else. Get a sack or a trash bag or a box and go around and collect those things and drop them off at the nearest donation center the next time you're out. There are tons of articles, blog posts, and videos about this topic to help you tackle the physical clutter in your home. I've even got at least one or two over on my site, Taming Frenzy, and there's several on this particular YouTube channel as well. Physical clutter needs to be dealt with because it leads to decision fatigue. And you know what decision fatigue is. You start out fine at the beginning of the day. You're rocking along. You're making those decisions. Everything's falling into place. But as the day goes on, you notice you begin to get tired. And you don't have as much energy. And then by the end of the day, your brain just kind of feels like mush. And you can't make one more decision because it's just too much. But all those piles and things that are laying around, all that extra stuff is kind of subconsciously screaming at you and screaming to clean me up. And you spend time either actively and consciously or subconsciously asking yourself, well, do I clean this up now Or do I put it off and clean it up later? Either way, that is still taking up energy that you would have to be dealing with other things, and instead you're dealing with these unimportant things and having all that decision fatigue. Your brain only has so much capacity for resource during a day, and if you're spending it doing things like moving the pile from one place to another and asking yourself those subconscious questions, then you really do not have the brain power and the energy there to focus on the big questions and the big things in life. Here's the thing, our brains like order, and when there's disorder, then it is chaos in our brain. It's hard to focus. And those constant visual reminders are kind of like a drain in our brain. And we all know what you have to do when you got a drain problem in your house. You've got to take steps to clear it out. Next, we have the mental clutter. Now, the mental clutter is all those things that you're trying to keep track of in your head that really should be kept and tracked somewhere else. Some of the things that may be in your brain may be things like, when is that next dentist appointment? Where are the gifts I bought for the kids? I know I bought them. Now, where did I stick them? Where to put them? What dates are we going on vacation next year? Have we already booked the lodging? When is my next turn to host that meeting? What was the name of that book I wanted to read? Now, who is the author? I wanted to make sure I checked that out the next time I was at the library. When does the warranty on the new freezer expire, and where did I put that information? All of these things are really mental clutter that a lot of people try to keep in their brains. They don't need to be kept up here. They need to be put either into a physical or a digital filing cabinet or a planner of some kind, whether it's digital or physical. But those things don't need to be taking up space in your head. They can be put someplace else where they can be easily retrieved whenever you need to use and access that information. There's no reason to clutter up your brain with stuff that can be kept somewhere else. Mental clutter can also be that busyness that we've built into our life. It's real easy for us to have a lot of activities and things. We may look at our calendar or our planner and realize it's just jam-packed with activities and events and meetings, and to the point that sometimes we're meeting ourselves coming and going. We may not feel like we've got 5 minutes to ourselves. Unfortunately, busyness is frequently seen as a bit of a badge of honor these days. When you meet somebody and you ask them, hey, how are you doing? The typical response you get is, I'm just so busy. I've just got all these things to do. And it's like whoever is the most busy wins a prize of some kind. Well, here's a spoiler alert for you. You don't win any prizes for being busy. Being busy sometimes makes us feel important. It makes us feel like, we're valuable because people need our time and attention and, all of those kinds of things. Sometimes it causes us to lose sight of what's really important in life. To deal with this kind of mental clutter, we need to take a real hard look at our calendar or our planner. Are there meetings and things that you're still attending, but that really you don't need to be? Are there events that have become superfluous, that do no longer serve you, but that you're still participating in? Are there things that you're doing out of obligation that do not fit your current life? Have you filled your calendar with a lot of busy things in order to fill some sort of void in your life? That one's tough, but it really does deserve some reflection and some analysis. There's no reason to clutter up your schedule with a lot of things just to be busy. Busy for the sake of busy doesn't really get you anywhere, and it keeps you from being able to identify the vision that you have so that you can create a plan to achieve the goals and dreams. It keeps you from being clear on where you're going. And now here's the biggie, that emotional clutter. Emotional clutter can be more insidious because sometimes we have it and we don't even really realize that we do. Sometimes we don't want to acknowledge that emotional clutter. Emotional clutter is all those pesky negative emotions. It may be things like, the shame that you feel over something that you did in the past that maybe you're embarrassed or ashamed of. It might be bitterness that you're holding on to over the way someone treated you about it in a situation in the past. It could be jealousy over the way things have gone in your life. It could be regret over a missed opportunity. Or it could be fear about something that you know is coming down the road in the future that you're afraid of. There are more examples than we could ever begin to list, but any of the negative emotions, fear, anger, frustration, bitterness, shame, loneliness, stress, anxiety, all of those negative emotional things cause emotional clutter that makes it hard for us to be clear about the purpose and direction of our life. All of these negative emotions can cause us to lose sight of the bigger picture. When your home or your life or your schedule is a humongous old big cluttered mess, it's hard to keep your eye on the future and to keep the clarity and the vision that you have set for yourself so that you can go about living the life that you want and achieving the dreams and the goals that you have for yourself. With that, I think it's probably time for me to go clean up the kitchen. I think maybe I hear some dirty dishes calling me. I'll be back later. Be sure to watch the rest of the videos in this series on clarity. And in the meantime, go tame a little of your frenzy.